to look at the bloopers for this.
This is good.
So I don't know how much of that I'm going to use in my intro, but hi, you know me, I'm Renee from Purple Adventures. This is my friend Nathan. Basically, he's an autism ally. You're not really an autistic ally. Okay, that's me learning language as well. See, it's not just you that has to learn things, okay?
I'm not used to watching you learn it though. I'm used to you just being the pro.
As being cut off by the laptop here is Gordo. Nathan requested to hug him. Okay, so today's video is going to be hopefully uploaded on April 1st if all goes to plan. If all goes to plan. And it's like everybody will know when they're watching this video that April 1st is the first day of Autism Acceptance Month. So this is what this is about. Nathan doesn't know a whole lot about these topics.
Not
But
for lack of trying, but there's a lot to know.
there is a lot to know, so like it's not like willful ignorance or anything, like it's acceptable. So these questions mainly center around a certain topic that is gonna, well, let's just say that some viewers are gonna get fired up, Nathan.
Oh, this should be good. So my understanding of it is you'll be bringing things to my attention,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be gauging my existing knowledge of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be building on that much like Dubai builds on skyscrapers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, first question. As soon as I say this, people at home are gonna be like, damn.
Oh, let's see
Like,
it. Let's hear it.
Question 1. Does Autism Speaks help autistic people and or their families?
Alright, well, first question I have back for you is, who is Autism Speaks?
First of all, I know you know who Autism Speaks is. This isn't
Autism
about
Speaks,
asking me
to
questions.
my understanding, is an American-based support network. I use that term loosely because what I do know of them, there's not much support they offer to autism, people with autism, or families with people with autism. They're one of the few organisations that still think autism can be cured or put back under the shadows, so to speak.
Okay, see, this is why that, like, as you said, we were going to test your knowledge and then build on it. Because I don't need to build on your knowledge too much of Autism Speaks. That's essentially what Autism Speaks is.
That was a quick
You
one.
got that one right. So do you think that they help autistic people and their families, or do you know if they do or anything like that, anything along those lines?
Heard plenty of horror stories, have not heard a single success story yet. That's not to say they don't exist, but they're certainly not the common denominator.
Look, okay, so, because I know that as soon as I mention Autism Speaks, there's a certain group of people I'm not going to name, but like the actually autistic people know who it is.
Right.
A certain group of people are going to come for me and they're going to start belting out support for Autism Speaks, and that just ain't it. So I'm going to have my sources so that I can, you know, like, I'm not even going to come back to them. I'm just going to put the sources in the box below and be like, this is where I got my information from, go fight with them.
Yeah.
However, what statistics and information and sources can tell me is very little this is a quote, very little donated, third time's charm, people.
We got this.
Quote, very little money donated to Autism Speaks goes towards helping autistic people and families. Only 1% of Autism Speaks budget goes towards the family service grants that are the organisation's means of funding services. Autism Speaks spends 20 times as much, so 20%, on fundraising. Although Autism Speaks does not prioritise services with a practical impact for families and individuals in its budget, its rates of executive pay are the highest in the autism world, some salaries exceed $600,000 a year. This is according to an flyer made by Autism Self-Advocacy Network, also known as ASAN, like ASAN. An organisation trusted, supported and spoken for by the autistic community. They found this information, these stats, from the Autism Speaks 990 non-profit tax exemption form 2018.
1%. Did you say 1% or less than 1%?
Only 1%. So, as of March 31st, 2020, according to their the 2020 audited financial statements, which can be found on the Autism Speaks website itself, their family services, so quote, family services, grants, awards, and science, media, and donated media services, end quote, combined took $1,362,839 US out of their yearly program services budget, with $1,362,832.9 USD coming from their supporting services total. I cannot break that down specifically to family services grants like ASAN have. Don't know how they've done it. Maybe they spoke to somebody, maybe they're looking at a different file to me. But as far as their 2020 audited financial statements went, that was the one category. So, yes, you can look at it and go, okay, that's almost $1.5 million. But that's spread out to how many services, and it's well known that Autism Speaks use more for their media and science than they do for their family stuff. So, looking at it, yeah, they spend 1% and then they spend 20% on fundraising.
So
and that's
only 20% of
their
annual budget making money, and they then pay 1% of those earnings toward families trying to deal with.
And then one
autism
person
itself.
Working there can earn over $600,000 a year.
Let it be pure.
I would love to do a podcast, honestly. I think
Would be sick.
Yeah. I think you and I should set up a podcast.
Could be a lot of fun.
Question 2. Does Autism Speaks consult autistics in their work?
I sure hope so.
In a flyer asking you to consider the facts before donating to Autism Speaks, so the flyer I just showed you,
Oh, yeah.
Autism Self-Advocacy Network stated that Autism Speaks only has one autistic person out of a total of 28 individuals on its board of directors. By contrast, 23 out of 28 board members represent major corporations, including current and former CEOs and senior executives of PayPal, Goldman Sachs, I think I'm pronouncing that right, White Castle, FX Networks, Virgin Mobile, eBay, AMC Networks, L'Oreal, CBS, SiriusXM, American Express, SC Johnson, and Royal Bank of Scotland. So clearly, like, all over the world. I think a lot of those are probably American, but...
So we've got a lot of common sense business minds in this, but not very many compassionate minds for
But
the
then
condition.
why do you think... Like, then look at it and go, okay, Autism Speaks has to be the most well-known autism organisation in the world.
Yeah.
Yet they've got such a bad rep. Like, clearly the fact that they've got these kind of executives on their board is getting them a big name, but it's not getting them a good name. However, I told you in that quote from that flyer that Autism Speaks has one autistic person on their board, right?
Yeah.
Since then, the aforementioned only Autism Speaks advisory board member who is autistic, John Elder Robinson, announced his resignation from the organisation in protest of the organisation comparing autistic people to kidnapping victims and claiming that our families are not living but merely existing due to the horror of having autistic people in their lives. There's more to this, like, the answer 2 is probably the longest, so there's more to this, so I'm just going to let you process that. Me and a friend were literally talking about this last night, so it's like really right there.
Off, it's not sinking in.
So, like, that.
Oh, you should definitely show that to the camera.
Okay, let's see if... Oh, it does show up. There you go. You can't really read it.
Okay, so it's not
But
a line spectrum so
it's
much.
a colour wheel.
It's...
Yeah, you gotta kind of, like, break it down into, like, symptoms or traits, however you wish to word it. So like fixations, for example, and they've got that as an orange. So fixation is an orange, and orange is a spectrum in itself because you can have all different shades of orange. So then, like, you've got to look at that. Where in the colour wheel do they, like, align with fixations? Okay, they align there, put them, say, like, at that point, you know? Like, on the second section. And then abnormal/flat speech. So that's where people, there's a stereotype that autistics are very monotone.
Oh, yeah.
Sound robotic. So, which some people do sound like that. That is a genuine trait to have. But not all autistics sound like that.
No.
So, we kind of went a bit off track there. Don't know how much I'm going to edit yet again. So we haven't even finished question 2 yet, because I told you I needed you to process that, and you started talking about, like, spectrum, and I had to correct you, and I don't... In his resignation, so John, the Autistic Advisory Board member who left, in his resignation letter, he discusses his 4 years spent attempting to reform the organisation from the inside without success, stating, Autism Speaks says it's the advocacy group for people with autism and their families. It's not, despite having had many chances to become that voice. Autism Speaks is the only major medical or mental health non-profit whose legitimacy is constantly challenged by a large percentage of the people affected by the condition they target.
Because
That's
it sounds
his
like
words.
they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, they are. There's quite the movement at the moment with disabled workers, like, you know, disability advocates and stuff, people who go do speeches, people who do movies, people who give out content in some form, should be paid adequately for their time. Like, there are, like, plenty of stories out there where an able-bodied person will, like, say a doctor, will be hired to do a speech at a conference, and then they'll have a disabled person come in and do their speech. They'll pay the doctor travel, accommodation, and time for their speech.
Yeah.
They will barely pay time. They won't, like, you'll have to bargain with, like, how much time you're getting paid to do your speech, let alone travel or accommodation. We get underpaid just because we're disabled, even though, technically, our knowledge is better than the doctor's because we're the one living with it.
Yeah.
So we have more valuable knowledge. So it's a big thing.
We should continue our
We
topics.
should continue. Consequently, quote, consequently, I support the idea of changing society to make it more accommodating for people who are different. I also support... I should slow down a bit. I also support the idea of developing theories, treatments, and tools to relieve the suffering and disability from both autism and the conditions that accompany it for some people. I know how hard life is for some on the spectrum, but I also see the gifts other autistics bring. Both are touched by autism, and it's part and parcel of who we are. That's why we face such difficult challenge to keep these gifts while relieving the suffering. It's immeasurably harder than simple disease fighting. Disease fighting obviously referencing the way Autism Speaks views autism.
Yeah.
That's end quote, by the way. This somewhat implies that John perhaps doesn't believe in the applied behavioural analysis, ABA therapy that I was telling you about earlier. I didn't really tell you about it. If it can be called that, like I said, therapy, if it can be called that, when at least 46% of children who go to ABA therapy come out with PTSD caused by said therapy.
Go in with one condition, come out with two. Makes sense.
Yeah, you know, go to one therapy, end up needing therapy for that therapy. All the medical research for a cure leading to eugenics, you know, I've spoken a lot about, you know...
We don't like
autism.
eugenics.
Yeah, we don't like eugenics, and we don't like that Autism Speaks researches eugenics. But essentially what I'm saying is, I think in that one quote, John somewhat perhaps, like, implies that he doesn't believe in ABA therapy or the research for cure / eugenics that Autism Speaks has openly supported, while autistic adults have openly spoken against. Okay, another quote. Quote, Mrs. Wrights, who's the co-founder, this started quote, co-founder of Autism Speaks with her husband.
Right.
Let's try this again. Mrs. Wright articulates, because he references an open editorial letter that she wrote higher up, articulates a view of the autism situation that is very different from my own. She says things I would never say to people with autism and cannot in good conscience stand by. Given her role as leader of the organisation, I am afraid it is my signal to exit the Autism Speaks stage, end quote. And final quote, for the past 4 years, I've worked very hard to defend Autism Speaks after a series of public relation missteps, beginning with the I Am Autism video and the most recent Autism Speaks point of view. He then provides a link to the video, which I'll still include in the box below, but it has been removed from the Autism Speaks website, so just goes error 404, page not found. Go back to the quote. So the most recent Autism Speaks point of view shows me that my words and efforts have had no real impact on the beliefs of the actual leadership of the organisation. I am not done yet. End quote. Unfortunately, for the purpose of this video, although great for the autistic community overall, the Autism Speaks point of view video is no longer attached to the Autism Speaks website and cannot be found reposted on sites like YouTube. However, John also mentions the I Am Autism video, which can be found reposted, and I will include a link to it below. I kind of want to see if I can get your reaction to the video on video, but I don't know if I'll include it because of how long this video is already going for.
We can do another one.
Exactly. I believe between the amount of current autistic board members and the quotes provided by the only autistic board member who ended up leaving because of the treatment of autistic community, including himself, it's safe to say I don't know why I always go to say autistic. Autism Speaks does not consult autistics in their work, and if they'd ever do, it's not in a highly regarded and well-paid position, as we were speaking of.
Yeah.
As the majority of the autistic community highly praise the phrase, nothing about us without us, this leaves a foul taste in my mouth, personally.
Yeah, if you're going to have that as your leading quote, nothing about us without us, and they're going to do everything without autism at the forefront, that does not compute. That does not compute. Error 404, webpage not found.
Yeah, you know how autistics feel when they're communicating with neurotypicals? Does not compute.
I would argue that have you ever tried to get a drunk to go to bed?
Yeah, I got you to go to bed.
Okay, bad example. Frustrating that he's not able to actually realise his dream, but then also enlightening in that, as you said, if he's found value in something that is going to, condone ADA, we don't know if we should really be that sad that he didn't realise his dream.
That's the thing, is we can't say specifically what qualities he found worthy of Autism Speaks, because he also says that he didn't find qualities worthy in Autism Speaks, and he mentions that he supports the idea of changing society to make it more accommodating.
Yeah.
And he supports the idea of developing therapies, treatments, and tools to relieve suffering and disability from both autism and the conditions that accompany it for some people. This could mean that he supports ABA, because that is considered a therapy. But it could also be that he just supports cognitive behavioural therapy adapted to autistic minds. It could mean a number of things. He doesn't specify which therapy, but he does specify that he likes the idea, he supports the idea of changing society, which, what are you looking at?
Steve.
Nobody on the video is gonna know who Steve is. He says he supports the idea of changing society, which I think that's a really important one, because as I go into, I will explain it more later in the video, but we call it, if you would have noticed at the start, I said acceptance month rather than awareness month.
Yeah, people know about autism now. It's not as if you need more awareness. It's about time you got integration.
Chances are, if you go to somebody and say, hey, have you heard about autism? They're like, yeah, I've got an autistic cousin. They're gonna know about autism somehow. They've heard about autism. Everybody knows about autism. This is question 3. What kind of promotion do Autism Speaks use for their fundraising? I know this is a difficult question.
Never seen one in my life.
Which is why I haven't.
Not that I want to throw her under the bus any more than she already is. She's already got tire marks all over her. But Sia hasn't...
Oh, God. She worked with Autism Speaks.
Yes, exactly.
She
So
worked
that
with
helps a
Autism
lot in
Speaks.
understanding who they are. Because, wow, that was a bus ride.
No, but then she claims that...
But my point was that helped a lot in getting them, I guess, on a media platform that I actually access.
This
So,
is true,
like,
because
okay, now I know about them
Facebook
through
and
her.
stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, answer to number 3 is Autism Speaks. Autism Speaks fundraising strategies promote fear, stigma, and prejudice against autistic people. Autism Speaks uses its platform and advertising budget, which is arguably more than their family support budget, to portray autism and autistic people as mysterious and frightening. Their fundraising tactics increase stigma and create barriers to the inclusion of autistic people in our communities. The autistic community constantly voice their displeasure of promotion and fundraising strategies to Autism Speaks, as almost always something is said, done, or implied to not only make autistics feel less than or life-destroying, but to feed off of the fear and grief of loved ones of autistic people. That's quite their key strategy, is like, they like that fear, like, oh my god, my child's been diagnosed with autism, what do I do? And they feed off that. It's quite chaotic.
Good lord.
Ah yes, the puzzle piece.
Look at
I
it's
am
Bigfoot.
autism. I'm visible in your children, but if I can help it, I am invisible to you until it's too late. I know where you live, and guess what? I live there too. I hover around all of you. I know no color barrier, no religion, no morality, no currency. I speak your language fluently, and with every voice I take away, I acquire yet another language. I work very quickly. I work faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined. And if you are happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails. Your money will fall into my hands, and I will bankrupt you for my own self-gain. I don't sleep, so I make sure you don't either. I will make it virtually impossible for your family to easily attend a temple, a birthday party, a public park, without a struggle, without embarrassment, without pain. You have no cure for me. Your scientists don't have the resources, and I relish their desperation. Your neighbors are happier to pretend that I don't exist, of course, until it's their child. I am autism. I have no interest in right or wrong. I derive great pleasure out of your loneliness. I will fight to take away your hope. I will plot to rob you of your children and your dreams. I will make sure that every day you wake up, you will cry, wondering who will take care of my child after I die. And the truth is, I am still winning, and you are scared. And you should be. I am autism. You ignored me. That was a mistake.
Wait for it.
And to autism I say,
I am a father,
a mother, a grandparent,
a brother. We will spend every waking hour trying to weaken you.
We don't need sleep because we will not rest until you do.
Family can be much
no
stronger
other
than
aware of
autism
my
ever
life goal.
anticipated, and we will not be intimidated by you, nor will the love and strength of my community.
I am a parent riding towards you, and you can push me off this horse time and time again, but I will get up, climb back on, and ride on with the message.
Autism, you forget who we are. You forget who you are dealing with. You forget the spirit of mothers and daughters and fathers and sons.
We are the United Kingdom.
We are China.
I really like this part because it's saying we are all these countries, but it's all American accent.
We are coming together in all climates.
We call on our faiths. We search with technology
And voodoo,
prayer and
herbs,
I'm pretty sure it just said voodoo.
Awareness you
It
never
did.
anticipated.
We have had challenges, but we are the best when overcoming them.
we speak the only language that matters. Love for our children.
Our capacity to love is greater than your capacity to overwhelm.
Autism is naive.
You are alone. We are a community of warriors.
We have a voice. You think because some of our children cannot speak, we cannot hear them? That is autism's weakness.
You think that because my child lives behind a wall, I am afraid to knock it down with my bare hands?
You have not properly been introduced to this community of parents and grandparents, of
Autism, if you are not scared, you should be.
When you came for my child, you forgot.
You're not
You
wrong.
came for me.
Autism, are you listening?
The puzzle piece to end us out. Okay, so that's the I Am Autism video. It's quite well known in the autistic community. What is your opinion? What are your thoughts? Your face said a lot, but you did not. Your voice did not. And apparently, if you don't use your vocal cords, then you don't have a voice. At least that's what it implies. Oh, I'm starting it again. No.
Oh dear.
Once was bad
plenty.
enough. So that's the I Am Autism commercial. That's what it's called, I Am Autism. It was run by Autism Speaks, funded by them, everything.
Yep.
And it did the rounds on TV everywhere.
Yep.
And it like instills more fear.
So of
And
all-
feeds off that fear that it instills.
my only question,
Yep.
of all those voices that were heard, how many of them were autistic?
None.
So what right do you have to tell me what autism is?
Did you notice how all of it was autism either a negative or it's a negative for the person that loves the autistic person? Like, and then when it was, well, like, you picked the wrong person and it's like all the family members and stuff. It's all about like what we feel, what we do. Have you noticed it's not about the autistic person yet?
Yeah, I was waiting for it and it just finished.
Yeah.
Just didn't happen. Didn't come. Oh my god.
So in one promotional
Where is
video
the patient
alone,
inclusion, if we're even going to call it that?
nothing about us without us is like
It's like
doesn't
our
come
hey,
from
old
no,
mate
doesn't
down the
come from
road with
nowhere.
20/20 vision. Tell me how your blind kid sees.
Right?
Like, come on.
So as the rest of question 3 answer 3 goes on, in one promotional video, I'll tell you Mum's response when I get to
Oh,
it.
God, okay.
In one promotional video alone, Autism Speaks used a devilish voice. Did you notice that? It was a very devilish voice when like it was talking about
Yeah.
autism, and then like the family comes in, it's all high pitched and la di di da.
Yes, I did see the typical advertising changeover.
Yes.
Between we don't want you to like this and we do want you to like this.
Yeah, and it makes it scary, but at least makes it happy.
Don't insult
You
our
know, like-
intelligence, we're not two.
They feed off the vulnerability of the scared parents and the scared grandparents. And that video that you just saw uses a voice to say all these negative things about autism to make it seem even scarier, but then use this really light and positive tone to talk about how great Autism Speaks is and how they're going to help. So then you give your money to Autism Speaks, or you go to Autism Speaks and they tell you to go to ABA therapy and stuff. In one promotional video alone, Autism Speaks used a devilish voice to promote that autism or autistics, 1, have no morality, 2, takes voices, 3, works faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined, end quote. That one's a direct and full quote.
So are they implying that autism is degenerative, like it's just progressing day after day after day?
I think by what they mean as works faster than these is like with these, like pediatric AIDS, cancer, diabetes, they're, well, first of all, they're diseases
Yes.
that kill. Autism is not. But you gain them at some point later in life. Whereas autism, you've got autism in the womb, boo. Like, you come out autistic.
That's who you are.
Yeah, you come out autistic. So in that sense, autism gets to the child first.
Yeah.
Autism is seen as like our brains developing differently.
Yeah.
And you can see those changes faster than you will acquire pediatric AIDS, cancer, or diabetes. I think that's what they mean by it. I'm not Autism Speaks.
No, otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I don't
because-
think the way that they think, therefore I cannot confirm that. that is just what the general public have tried to make of that statement. The people who actually felt connected to that statement when watching the ads, I'd like to know what they think. Because, like, what did you think out of that made you go, yeah, that's my kid? They number 4 is make sure marriages fail. Number 5 will send you bankrupt. If ABA is really expensive, and yes, it can send you bankrupt if you don't know what you're doing, which Autism Speaks preys on. So yeah. It will be impossible to attend any event or public location without embarrassment and pain for the family. Notice how it focuses on, like, it doesn't say for the family, but it implies for the family, like, you will not be able to go anywhere without this. So it kind of does directly say the family. It doesn't say the child will not be able to go anywhere. So it talks about the pain and embarrassment for the family, rather than talking about how it feels for the child to have to go into an unfamiliar space. And in that sense, why are you not looking at it and going, my child is going to be uncomfortable and in this unfamiliar space, I should prepare them, you know, like, or like I should just not take them there. Like, if I know that grocery store has very bright lights that are going to affect my child and overwhelm them,
put a goddamn canopy over the pram.
Put a canopy over the pram, give them sunglasses, ask the store if they can change their lights if you really want to, or just don't take that kid to that store. Like there's ways around it.
You have to, like, people have to learn to live within society to a point.
Yes.
There's no, you have to learn by this date. There's no, you have to learn by this milestone. It might take until they're 10 before they're like, oh yeah, okay, so the daily routine, shops, bank, bills, this, that. Yes, an able-minded child may be able to learn all of those things by 5, but you're dealing with a neurodivergence. Accommodate. Don't shame.
Exactly. So, like, yes, we may reach milestones later than expected, but we can still learn, but Tiny puppy is coming out.
She is.
We do better when we're accommodated for, and what's the word I'm looking for? Use my noise cancelling headphones. That helps me to adapt. That's it.
There it is.
That helps me to adapt to my situation. Just help your child find things that they can adapt to that situation with. It doesn't have to be painful and embarrassing for you, but at the same time, you should be prioritizing your child, not what other people think of you, and not what other people think of your family.
It's almost like these guys are preying on the fact of, oh, okay, you had an autistic child. Let's make you feel ashamed of your pregnancy and your birth.
Right?
Like, can you... Oh.
An autism group in Victoria that did a campaign of different ads. Stop looking at the dog, Nathan. They did a group of different ads that ran for a little while in Victoria only, unfortunately. I wish they were nationwide, but they were made available, so maybe I'll find them afterwards. Stop looking at the dog. But basically, like, it shows different situations with autistic people, right? And it shows how people around them will view it, and then shows how people should view it. So, like, there's one where an advocate that, you know, I love, Princess Thespian, Chloe Hayden.
She's a legend.
Absolute legend. She played a character in the ad she's in an office, and, you know, like, cubicle office space. She's in an office, and she's kind of like, oh, and it's showing, like, the light's kind of distorted. And, 2 girls walk past, and they're like, oh, big night out, huh? Kind of thing, like acting as if she's hungover, and like judging her, but then they like redo it and show how like you should react, and like she goes through it and puts on her sunglasses again because sunglasses are adapting, and this time they're like, oh, is there anything we can do? Do you need us to turn the lights down? Do you need some water? Like, they actually,
like, at least being supportive.
Yeah, they support and care.
Yeah.
7, have no interest in right or wrong. That, like, I don't understand that one, but, like, maybe it'll compute differently with you, but does not compute for me, because autistics do have sense of right and wrong.
Yeah.
Arguably, some autistics will have a better sense of right and wrong, and a stronger sense of right and wrong than neurotypicals or holistics. So I don't understand that one. And then autism, as a condition, cannot have a sense of right or wrong, just like epilepsy can't, cancer can't. There's no such thing as like a medical condition or a medical anything having a sense of right and wrong. That does not work that way. So I do not understand that one. Like, is it saying the autistics have no sense of right and wrong? 8 was will take away hopes and dreams, and 9, this is where Mum's reaction came in. 9, every day parents of autistic children will wake up and cry because their child is autistic. She was like, oh, and I was like, oh, has she read the part that comes after that, thinking she had read that and was horrified. No, she went, I'm supposed to be waking up and crying every day? I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, Mom, what?
What was point 8?
Point 8 was will take away hopes and dreams.
You mean you're going to take away preconceived expectations of a child that you haven't got to know yet?
Yeah, pretty much.
Say it right.
I swear. I don't want to bleep you out. Lastly, for number 3 is and we can't forget the forever etched in my brain moment that Autism Speaks created a short film about autism that featured the organisation's leader at the time talking about her desire to kill herself and her autistic daughter via driving off a bridge while her daughter was in the room to hear it. That actually happened and then was aired. She literally said, I want to kill my daughter and myself but all because of autism, in front of the autistic daughter, who could hear it. She's not deaf.
What a selfish mother.
She's the organization's leader at the time. She's supposed to be promoting an organization that helps support families so they don't feel like that. And she's talking about how she, as the leader of the organization, feels like that. So, but thankfully there are organizations out there, and there is different options out there where you don't even need an organization's access. You can just go to your local psychologist and be like, dude, I'm feeling pretty down, I've got an autistic child and I'm not coping well because I don't know how to help them with their needs.
Is that not the definition of the need for respite?
Yes.
You ever heard of respite, Sheila? Do you know what that means?
Half my audience going, what's Sheila mean? But yeah, that was a thing, and it's forever etched in my memory. I was like, can't go without that. Now
we're at 4.
We're at 4. We're nearly there, and we've got to get through it.
All right.
The answers do get shorter from here, I believe. Question 4: what is Light It Up Blue, Nathan?
Okay, is that not still one of the main tools in campaigning for autism awareness? Not necessarily acceptance. That's the awareness side still very much at the forefront. Ignorant.
No, not ignorant. You know what the public knows. And again, not willful ignorance. Therefore, it's forgivable. If you were to listen to what I'm about to say and then go, screw you, I don't care, that would be willful ignorance, and that is harmful.
Deliberate
that is despicable.
Ignorance.
Yeah. So you did dispute there the difference between awareness and acceptance. I'm going to say, yes, it is an awareness campaign, but even if it were an acceptance campaign, even as an awareness campaign, still not good. There's a bit of confusion and argument about who initially created the Light It Up Blue campaign, with no clear source for the answer. I did look, I could not find it. However, yes?
So it's a Mandela effect in motion.
Kinda.
Just come out of nowhere.
There's not really, I can't find the source for it. I did look. I looked on many sites. Many sites also quoted that they could not find the source. But everyone, from general public to all of the sources I looked at, highly associate, or commonly associate, and believe that it was popularized by Autism Speaks.
Okay.
This alone is reason enough for autistics to not support the campaign.
Right.
And as April is a month supporting the autistic community, shouldn't we be listening to the majority of what the community want?
Well, yeah.
Now, I told you this was a 5-question session, right?
You did.
Bonus question.
Did you just say...
Did I just swear?
I did!
Christ, now I'm gonna have to bleep myself. Okay, so do you know why the colour choice is blue?
Is it not supposed to be an affirmation colour for deep thought and, like, concentration and understanding?
You know what? We are going to go into colour theory in this answer. It's a 3-part answer. No, it does not have anything
That was
to
a
do
very
with that.
short part 1.
It does not have anything to do with that.
Wrong.
First of all, blue is the primary colour of Autism Speaks. That video that we watched, the puzzle piece, was all blue. They've since changed... Let me show you what they've since changed it to, actually. Come on, load. They've since changed it to this to add diversity.
Oh, what is it? Blue with a smear of green?
No, that's a little bit of purple in there and a little bit of orange in there.
Okay, because to my colourblind ass, that just looks like a little bit of aqua. It's a little bit of aqua on a blue puzzle piece.
From here up is all blue still. A different shade of blue,
I
but
feel
still blue.
excluded.
So yeah, they, like, everybody's just kind of like, wow, you rebranded. So, but even so, yes, don't look at the dog. But even so, now looking at that new puzzle piece, it is still primarily blue.
Yes.
And everything else that they use is blue. Blue is also typically understood to be a symbol of loss, grief, and despair. So while you were talking about certain colour theories, there are other colour theories that could apply. People that try to support the blue puzzle piece will probably, like, they do tend to use colour theory and use more points that you notice, because blue is a very calming colour. It's known to calm people, and we want to bring calmness to a world that is really overwhelming for our autistic children. I read that as almost exact quote while doing my research today, and I was like, not surprisingly, many autistics prefer to be associated with a colour that symbolises fire, passion, and heart.
So we actually want to aim for red.
We're getting there. But there's an arguably even worse reason for the blue. Now, as I know you know, Nathan, you are aware of this, as I've ranted about it many times, but not all are aware that there is a stereotype that there are more boys than girls who are autistic.
Oh, this hot mess. You're a girl, you can't have autism. It's only found in boys.
Yes! Autism Speaks has been known to call autism the boys' disease, despite it not being a disease.
Oh, I didn't even notice in their ad. There's not a single girl. There's not a single girl depicted with
except
the
for
condition.
when it's a mother or a grandmother helping the autistic one. So even Autism Speaks has been known to call autism the boys' disease, despite it not being a disease, and many females experiencing the condition, if
Which
you
is
will.
why you were diagnosed at what age?
19.
Yeah.
Just before I turned 20. Like a month before I turned 20. With blue being the boys' colour, it was one of few reasons chosen to represent the boys' disease. We of course now know that females and non-binary or other gender non-conforming people... Oh, what did I press there?
Ooh.
Gender non-conforming people experience autism as well. The two main reasons for this long-lived misconception that is finally starting to break down, barely, but, you know, is that firstly there is doctor's bias, which is what happened with me, where, okay, so like I've used, for example here, where doctors have a bias towards things like only seeing certain traits or refusing to believe people who weren't assigned male at birth can be autistic and whatnot. So,
How many old mindsets are we waiting to die out here?
But, like, that's what I mean by, with, like, my experience with that certain psychologist was a doctor's bias, because she believed that I could not be autistic because I was not presenting with the certain traits that she sees as autistic. she sees other traits as autistic and only those traits. That's doctor's bias. Secondly, we're now recognizing different ways autism can present in different genders and in people who have been raised in various social environments. So when I say have been raised in various social environments, it's because we don't want to just recognize that autism can present different in different genders, because that's how it was first known as when we started recognizing females are autistic too, right? Was that, oh, females can be autistic, it just presents differently in them. But then we've looked at it even further now, like, as people are starting to become aware that autistics are now looking further into how that, like, the way it's being spoken about makes them feel, and they go, well, I'm a boy, whether they've been assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth, they go, I'm a boy and I identify more with the girl autistic traits. Are you still in the video? Yes.
Yes. I'm making sure.
So, like, a boy feels more aligned with the girl traits, and the girl feels more aligned with the boy traits. And then where do you have the non-binary and gender non-conforming people? They have to go based off of where they were assigned at birth, but even then, it still doesn't necessarily. Can you not put your stonky feet on my plushies?
Can you leave that bit in?
Okay. So, like, I'm non-binary, gender fluid. I'm assigned female at birth.
Yes.
I might identify more with the male traits, or like what are typically seen as the male traits. So where do I fit in? Because I'm non-binary, but I was assigned female at birth, but I'm identifying more with the male traits.
You fit in as complicated is what you fit in as.
Yes. Good. Thank you for not swearing. It is complicated, but if you look at it, it's like one really common thing we see and we say for females with autism is they don't get diagnosed because they're better at masking and certain social aspects, because the way females, or at least those who are assigned females at birth, the way they are brought up with other assigned females at birth is you work a certain way, you have to socialize a certain way, you have to play in a certain way, like in a certain dynamic, stuff like that. Whereas with males, that's, well, like assigned male at birth, that group don't really follow that as much. They might be about rough play, whereas assigned female at birth have to be about polite play. We have to follow different social constructs that are applied to assigned female at birth. So, like,
I think there might be unintentional misconceptions there as well, because, like,
probably, but, like,
depends on who's raising you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, that's why I said not rather than how, like, the gender they're identified with, but what they're raised as. I said can present in different genders and in people who have been raised in various social environments. So if you were raised, like, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but if you were assigned male at birth, but you were raised to be certain ways, then your autism was going to present in a different way, isn't it? You've learnt certain behaviours that can, like, make your autism look different. I've learnt certain behaviours while growing up as assigned as female, and that makes me look different. Like, it's a bit of a twinkos.
A bit of a what?
Twinkos. Coin toss.
There you go.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute, that one didn't sound right. So, which brings us to the Red Instead campaign, started by Autistic Women and Non-Binary Network.
Oh, good.
We have our own network.
People who are actually experts on it.
Yes, and they're beloved by the majority of autistics, including males. And their campaign is in support of all genders, including all males, both trans and cisgendered, rather than just supporting a male stereotype. Blue is a colour that was originally chosen by non-autistic people to represent autism. Many people from the autistic community actually prefer to wear red instead in an effort to support autism acceptance. So you did mention before the difference between awareness and acceptance. So this is more of an acceptance, like this has always been started as autism acceptance. However, blue as awareness or acceptance shouldn't be a thing. So Redden said, in an effort to support autism acceptance rather than mere awareness, we, the majority of the actually autistic community, feel we have reached awareness and now need acceptance. Red's also a gender-neutral colour that can also symbolise aforementioned fire, passion and heart.
No more pink headbands on bald babies.
So, like, when I said fire, passion and heart before, you're like, oh, so red instead. I was like, I haven't gotten to that part yet. Okay, last question. And my answer is short, so let's see what yours is. Are you going to sit up for the last question, are you? What do you know about the puzzle piece, or what do you think about the puzzle piece? You can answer either. What do you know about the puzzle piece? Let's start with that.
What I know about the puzzle piece is not very much. From what I get from the puzzle piece,
what do you mean by get? From what, like, you see the puzzle piece and this is what you think? Or what you think of the puzzle piece?
This is what I think of the puzzle piece, because
Okay.
I've seen it. I've seen it on plenty of rear windows, plenty of bumper stickers, lots and lots and lots and
You've seen
lots.
it more places than you should.
Yeah.
So you...
What's
so
the point? They already fit.
I was going to say, so you do know about the puzzle piece. You do know that it's a no-no.
What's the point? They already fit.
Well, that's basically what the autistic community says. This one truly is an opinion that happens to be shared by the majority of the autistic community. First reason not to like it, it was started by an organisation I can't remember the name of in the UK in '63, but...
Oh, it's an oldie.
It's an oldie. Wasn't really popularised back then, if you can see where I'm going. The puzzle piece was popularised by none other than Autism Speaks. I think I've already made it quite clear the opinion most autistics share on the organisation. Just a few reasons why we don't support them or anything they do. To a lot of autistic people, because of the way Autism Speaks works, the puzzle piece represents negativity about autism, not a positive perspective on autism. There's more to it though. The puzzle piece symbolises many things that don't sit well with the vast majority of our community, which include the negative, puzzling mystery of autistic people. Just for one, how do you feel about that one?
It's not that hard to understand. It's really not that hard to understand.
You don't feel like we're puzzling or we're a mystery? No. Okay, good. I picked a good friend. What else did you have to say about that? I feel like I interrupted you.
Makes me mad because you're only separating them further.
Exactly.
By implying that this puzzle piece that is connected to nothing does not fit in.
Exactly. Apparently we don't fit into society's puzzle, I'm guessing. The fact that people think there's a piece of us missing is how some people view that's how some people say why we use the puzzle piece. They'll say, oh, there's a puzzle piece because there's a piece of you missing, that's why you're autistic.
Which bit?
I don't know.
All the fingernails are there, all the toenails are there. Which bit?
Something in the brain's missing, I'm guessing, because it is something to do, it is a neuro thing, so I'm guessing it's something to do with the brain. The other reason, another reason why, the symbolizes that we don't stand with, is that people think they need to find the missing puzzle piece to fix us. That's another big Autism Speaks one, is we need to find that missing puzzle piece to, get the cure and fix them. I don't know why I keep touching your knee when I say puzzle piece, but...
Emphasis. It's just you're wanting to emphasise, because this has every reason to really frustrate someone who actually lives with the condition, and really frustrates people who live with the person who lives with the condition.
Yeah.
Because I don't... you can have two neurotypicals who have the same kinds of arguments that you and I have, or the same kind of communication breakdowns.
We only have arguments because we try to discuss something and we need a translator because you say something and I take it I don't understand what you mean, so I say something and you don't understand what I mean, and then we start arguing because nobody understands what's going on. That's the only time we argue.
But it's a consistent back and forth of, we're not listening, we're wanting to be heard. You can have that in two neurotypicals who have stopped listening and are struggling simply to be heard.
But then as soon as you added a neurodivergent person, it's because they're neurodivergent.
Yeah. And because it's an easy target. It's a really easy thing
to pick
at. It is
an easy target, as I've experienced recently when somebody said they had these grievances with me and then they said, oh, but you're neurodivergent, it might take you a bit to process this. And then they never spoke to me again because it was just an easy target to take. And I don't care if they see this.
Well, you burn the care factor, it doesn't come back.
Exactly. So, like, yeah, it does happen. It is an easy target. People really do just go, well, they're neurodivergent. They don't get it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll go, they're neurodivergent. They don't get it. And they'll keep hanging on to that. They'll keep dangling it in front of you as carrot, like, you're neurodivergent. You don't get it. And some people just go, button, you're neurodivergent. You don't get it. And go. They drop the bomb and they leave. So just to end, the preferred symbol is the rainbow infinity sign, which is used by multiple neurodivergent communities. I was going to say companies.
There's some inclusion of the non-binaries and the trans and the... Because, like, the rainbow has always...
Well, as I was going to go into it...
Sorry, I jumped the gun again.
That's the preferred symbol by multiple neurodivergent companies. There is no assigned leader of this symbol or its neurodivergent rights movement, but that could be why we love it so much. It's created by a neurodivergent person. It's not controlled by an organizational person that can harm us. We have full governance and autonomy when using it. With the rainbow included, it includes the whole spectrum, and the infinity sign also represents that autism cannot be separated from the autistic person. However, ultimately, the official definition, the rainbow infinity symbol is most commonly used as the symbol of Autistic Acceptance Day or Autism Pride Day, June 18th, although it can be used year-round, and it ultimately represents diversity with infinite variations and infinite possibilities.
There you go.
So it's all of the different kinds of things that can come from the colour spectrum. Colour wheel spectrum, you know? It's infinite. Like, there's no, like, it's kind of like infinite amount of numbers. There's no, like there's an infinite amount of autistic people and their possibilities and whatnot. So that's our preferred thing. What do you think you took from this today?
A lot. There's a lot to take from it, and I think that it's going to, at the very least, give people lots and lots of points to think about, especially as far as, you know, you might think you're doing the right thing, you might think you're being helpful with following some of these paths, but who are you listening to?
Exactly. Like, are you listening to the autism mums? Are you listening to Autism Speaks? Or are you listening to the actually autistic community that are willing to put their voices out there? They're willing to risk, like, you know, I feel like I'm going to get attacked for this video now, but I'm willing to say that. I'm willing to put my voice out there and put this information out there because it betters my community.
It's...
Yeah, like, what's Autism Speaks' motive? To gain more money, clearly. So why are you going to listen to Autism Speaks over an autistic person?
Yeah. Like, when the majority of people who seek the services of Autism Speaks are then needing to go and seek the services of a PTSD support group afterward for the treatment they received, they're doing something that is very, very wrong. And they're not willing to admit that. They're not listening. And you're watching this...
It's worse than the Sia Dumbfire, isn't it? Because, like, she spiraled and she just, like, kept responding to all of the stuff, like, to all the comments, and just kept denying it or arguing it, whereas they don't even do that. They just, like, ignore us.
And to the mums who think that they have a right to play the victim, you obviously aren't open-minded enough to let that child change your life for the better, which they've got just as much ability to do so as any other child you could bring into the world. And as far as acceptance, as far as unity goes, that includes paraplegia, Down syndrome, neurotypical. They're a child. Like, yeah, really want to swear, but for goodness sake, they're a child. How can you blame them? Don't. Let them change your life for the better. The only thing stopping them from doing that is how you see the situation.
Kind of glad that it went through this, even though it ended up... I feel like I talked more than expected, and I felt like you didn't talk as much as expected, but I feel like I still got good content from you, which is always great for a video. And yeah, I feel like you learned something new today.
I feel like I performed well. Hopefully I'll get invited back for an encore performance on my phone.
I was gonna say, don't, like, get too, like, big an ego, but yes, this is your phone, so, I better be nice. Do you feel like this is gonna start some dinner conversations tonight?
want to dye my hair red.